Hey everybody, what's up? My name's Adam and welcome to Jamsville. So I just wanted to talk about a subject a little bit today that I've been thinking about a lot recently, which is, should you copy other guitar players? Now, throughout my entire time playing guitar and browsing the internet and posting videos and just seeing the other things that people have to say, I've noticed that some guitarists have this sort of disdain for the idea of copying other guitar players or other musicians in general, really. And they think that, well, you should just be original. You shouldn't copy anyone else because all that's going to make you do is sound like a clone of another player. Well, I kind of disagree with this idea for a few reasons. And the main reason is that most of the guitar players that I grew up listening to and really got inspired by and wanted to learn how to play the guitar because of, well, all of those people actually copied a lot of other guitar players as well. Just off the top of my head, Jimi Hendrix and Wes Montgomery and George Benson, those are three of my biggest influences, and all those guys have been pretty well documented to have copied pretty thoroughly a lot of other guitar players. With Jimi Hendrix, I believe it was like T-Bone Walker, Muddy Waters, these blues guitar players. He was really inspired by them and learned how to play in that style. Wes Montgomery, he learned Charlie Christian solos note for note. He would actually play those on gigs, believe it or not, for a long time before he really developed his own sound. And George Benson, later on down the line, actually copied a lot of Wes Montgomery stuff, and you can really hear that come out in his playing. So my opinion on the whole thing is that it's kind of silly to say that you shouldn't copy anyone at all. Now, obviously, the whole entire idea behind playing music in general isn't to just be a copycat of some other guitar player, right? We do want to eventually develop our own sound. However, it can be really, really instructive and educational to copy the greats, especially when we're first learning how to play the instrument, because we learn how to do things that work already. We learn the things that are proven just for an absolute fact that they sound good and they work. And I think that a lot of these players like Wes and Jimi Hendrix and George Benson, what they did is they drew influence from a lot of different places by copying this guitar player and that guitar player and this other, non-guitar player. A lot of these people were not just copying guitar players, they were copying saxophone players. I know that Charlie Christian really, really wanted to make his guitar actually sound like a saxophone, and that's part of the reason that he developed his own unique sound. Side note, I think it's really, really good to copy non-guitar players if you're a guitar player, or just in general, people who don't play the same instrument as you, because a lot of times you can find that you have to force yourself to get out of that comfort zone in that typical guitar vocabulary to be able to play someone's saxophone solo. And just by virtue of the fact that you're playing a saxophone solo on the guitar, well, it's drastically different, right? It's not the same as playing a saxophone solo on a saxophone. Anyway, all these players, they drew influence from all these different places. Their own musical personality shines through in the unique way that they combine all these different influences. It's like you take all these different ingredients, and the way that you combine them is the unique thing. Now, sometimes people can get a little too caught up in like copying one specific player, and that can actually be good, again, like I said, in the beginning stages. But, you want to, I think, ideally draw influence from a lot of different places, and that will really get rid of this problem and this idea of, oh, I'm just going to sound like I'm copying someone else, right? Because if you're copying like 10 different people and then mixing them all up and mixing all these different sounds, there's no way that somebody's going to be able to identify like, oh, you're copying this person and that person. It's just too many different things going on. That's how you get your own unique sound. So for me personally, this is also why I like learning how to improvise on the guitar, because you really practice getting in this creative state where you're not copying anyone, where you just allow all the stuff that you've learned how to play, all the solos you've transcribed, all of the songs that you've learned, you allow it to come out in a natural and free way when you're improvising and deliberately not trying to play anything that's pre-made. And a lot of times when I write music, it just starts off as me sitting down and improvising something, and then I come up with some kind of motif, and then that ends up turning into its own composition. Anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to give you my thoughts on whether or not you should copy other guitar players. And I think that the answer is a big, definite yes. But after you learn and draw influence from all these different sources, then you just need to let it all come out in its own unique way with your own personality. I think that's the key to developing your own sound and having fun and making sure you sound good, right? Because you're basing it on, again, something that works. We know that Jimi Hendrix sounds good. We know Wes Montgomery sounds good. We know Eddie Van Halen sounds good. We know Jimmy Page sounds good. So if you learn those things, you're gonna learn how to sound good in your own way. Also, if you're someone who's a beginner, more intermediate guitarist, and you're confused by the guitar fretboard and you feel like you're just boxed into the same place whenever you're playing things on the guitar, and you're interested in having total freedom over the guitar fretboard, make sure you head on over to Jamsville.com and check out the Jamsville GPS Fretboard Fundamentals course. This guitar course is going to give you a step-by-step, super duper clear, easy to follow way of mastering the guitar fretboard once and for all. Once you go through all the stuff in this course, you are never, ever going to be confused about the guitar fretboard ever again, I promise you. All right, everybody, until next time, listen, learn, and jam.